The one thing that you talk about, and I've heard you talk about a couple times that really intrigues me, is the chuck eye roast.
Yeah.
Explain that how you get that. One part is more like a ribeye, and the other part is like you would do something more like braising with. Is that correct?
Yeah. So there's one the way that any of you and I can buy this at a warehouse store or maybe one of your grocery stores, you can get it in a big
Yeah.
piece, right? And so
Right.
it's probably about 18 pounds, I'd say,
Okay.
18 to 20. It's a big piece. So one side is going to be, it was connected to the rib, right?
Okay. It's
And
like
so
the
the
end
one
cut.
side, the very end of the rib. And so the part that is connected to is the part with the spinalis, right? And
Okay.
so that last piece, and so the last 2 or 3 inches is absolutely golden on that piece of chuck. And so if you get that off, you get your chuck eye steak. And then on the
Mm-hmm.
other side of that chuck eye steak is the Denver steak. And so
Oh,
those can be cooked both just as
like a
is, like
steak. Yeah.
as a steak. And so, I take them apart because then you can kind of trim up the silver skin and get them all cleaned up and then use all that fat to render down and then cook them in. And you're like, I mean, I learned this when I was an apprentice. Like these were $2 a pound, man. These were
Yeah.
like, oh man, the flat irons, we couldn't get rid of flat irons. We would sell them the same price as shoulder clods. We would,
Jeez.
and we would put them out and hope to sell them. And yeah, it was wild, man.
And now that, I mean, that stuff is like $4 or $5 a pound if you buy like the chuck roast or whatever. But if you buy a ribeye, it could be 15, $18 a pound, which is
Yeah, so
crazy.
it all depends on where you go, what you do, what meat you're buying, and all of it's just there's so much into it, and there's so many levels where But I'll just talk about straight USDA choice, that
Mm-hmm.
USDA Prime that a regular store would carry,
Right.
right? And so, uh, yeah, to get the best value, you got you. It's hard to say this because unless you go to if you go to a butcher shop, right,
Mm-hmm.
you really need to know what they're selling.
Okay.
So, and what you're getting. And the reason is anybody can sell you anything, right? And just say, oh, this is nice USDA choice meat, right? And so, where did they get that meat? Swift premium meat, right? Where does Costco get their meat? Swift premium meat. So, all they've done is made it really nice, put it in their butcher shop, got some steaks, and now they're charging you $28 a pound for a USDA choice or prime ribeye
Mm-hmm.
when you can get the same exact thing at Costco uncut, right? And so that is a huge margin jump because of a butcher shop. So a grocery store is going to come in a little lower, maybe $14 to $17 for that margin, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so they're still paying the same price as Costco, maybe a little more because Costco buys so much, right?
Yeah.
So they're still paying around the same price, but they're selling it for 15 to 18, and then the butcher shop, that is the fancier butcher shop. That's why you need to know. I've worked at places where it's not grass-fed beef from a local farmer. It's just choice beef. And so
Right.
the deception in the customer's eyes, they don't realize it. And it's not really anyone trying to deceive you. They're telling you what they're selling, but they're not telling you, hey, you could also go to Costco and go get one of these. I mean, in fact,
Yeah.
there was a couple times during Christmas where we ran so low on prime ribs that I had to run to Costco, go grab prime ribs, bring them back to the shop, and fill orders.
And cut
But it
them
was
in
the
the
same.
smaller sections like they do at the grocery store, right?
But it was all the same. No, it was the
Yeah.
same. So it would be a Swift premium box over at Costco, and
Yep.
then a Swift premium box at my store.
Yeah.
Same exact thing, like same package, same
That's
exact
crazy.
thing. And so now we're selling them for a little bit more expensive because of you're all, I mean, you're also getting it trimmed, you're getting it tied, you're getting a lot of things, but at the end of the day, it's the same piece of meat.
Yeah. One thing about the whole take the larger cut and then cut it into smaller pieces, and I actually saw you do it on your channel, and we filmed it, and we didn't release it yet, but it's coming in the next couple of weeks. We had to film ahead because our videographer is going on her honeymoon, so we filmed a bunch of stuff. Then we're going to release it as we need. But anyways, is the top sirloin roast, and we separated into the culottes and to the lean steaks, and it was such an educational experience. I watched a couple videos, and then to go through and do it myself, and it was like the first time I ever did it. But those culotte steaks are no joke, man, and they are good.
And that's one of the best. You nailed it right there. That's one of the best, most versatile pieces of meat that you could buy. I mean, you get anything out of the top sirloin, and then as you continue to do it, it just becomes second nature. You're peeling, you see the right angles, and then you're like, okay, because obviously you can handle a knife. You've done it quite a few years, so it's not. Anybody can do any of this, and that's why I want to tell everybody. It's like it's not as crazy as you think. The way that you buy it, it's already broken down. You're just cutting it up, right? And just
I mean, that's what
seams.
YouTube is great for. Is like I didn't know exactly how to break it down. I watched a video, and I have a little more experience than the average person with the knife and meat in general, but I still watched the video. I went back and did one before the video, and then during the video it was just like the second one I ever did, and it turned out good, man. And like I said, when I cooked those culottes, I was like, this is like, people need to know about that because it's so juicy and tender. And it's like I always kind of related that to the tri-tip, but it's better than tri-tip. It's more tender in my opinion, anyways.
So it's just a little different, So the picanha, aka the culotte, the sirloin cap. The difference is like the style of cooking it and the way you're going to get the best flavor out of it. So the tri-tip, and they're just a little bit. So you want to cook, I would say, the picanha or the culotte more like a prime rib. And the tri-tip, you want to almost get that grill, almost a little brown around the outside. You know what I mean? Where you get that. That's us in California, where it's just that red in the middle, but it has that crispy crust on the outside, and it's just a whole different mouthfeel. Yeah. It's like prime ribby. You get a taste of beef, and over here you're tasting the char and like the and all the. Oh God! I'm saying I'm just getting all fired up.
That's awesome.
I want a tri-tip sandwich right now, baby.
Yeah, let's go. We talked about the chuck eye. Okay, I heard you talking about this too. This is very interesting to me. The whole flank steak, how the Argentinians cook it as a whole, and they leave the membrane on. Talk about that a little bit for me, because I have never heard of that before, but I've seen it online. After you described it, I'm like, oh, that was the video I saw over here.
So that was not me.
No? Are you serious?
Yes. I think so. I didn't have one. I think that you're talking about like Al Fergoni or something. But
no, you were actually talking about it with Ethan, I think, on the podcast. The whole skirt steak. What did I say?
Oh, so just the skirt steak.
But it was like you were talking about how they cook it whole and leave.
So there's different things. So there's different skirt steaks, right? And so like I'm thinking maybe Al so his Argentine. So I don't know Argentine style. I just know about what he does. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So what they do is they take all of this as one piece with the membrane still left on it, which I haven't done yet, which I would love to do, but I've done it with just the skirt steak by itself, right? So I haven't done it with the whole entire piece yet.
I gotta get one of those and try that out, because that sounds like it'll be amazing. But what I thought it was you talking about it, but it's like you don't cook it to that just like marinate and grill it medium rare. You like cook it all the way through, more like a brisket texture or something like that.
And so with which I can get, or you can get at any like Costco or wherever, that's going to be the outside skirt steak. So the outside skirt steak is going to have both sides are going to be fully covered in membrane. It's going to be, you can't even chew through it. But this is the stuff that protects the meat. That's what Al is talking about. Okay. And so this is when you're cooking it low and slow, brisket style if you want, and just let it render. And then that membrane almost becomes crispy.
Right.
And it's the same with like beef ribs or pork ribs. When people complain, they say, I don't like the membrane. Yeah. It's a different form of rib. It's a different style. So some style of rib, I like the membrane on. Some style of rib, I don't want them on. And so
I agree 100% with you. Sometimes that membrane, like when we cook a ton of St. Louis ribs for festivals, we'll leave the membrane on because that holds the moisture in. and it gets like almost like chicken skin, like crispy
And that
like that.
chew, that little rip at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just keeps that salt flavor at the bottom. I know that's exactly it, man. So I like that with beef ribs a lot of the time. I definitely want to leave the membrane on there. It's just because it just, you taste the fat. You taste like everything rendered down. So that's why I love that stuff, man.